want to hear that same song again. If I hear the same song, I might go insane. Because it's a small, the same thing I hear it. That now it have a better day coming. But anyhow that I look around, I see the whole world heading for destruction. People committing crimes and for their escape. Say they're doing all that for the children's sake. Better days are coming. Better days are coming. Children, stop your crying.
Good morning, and welcome to another edition of The Movement. The Movement is a 2-hour program that is every Tuesday on Win FM from 10 o'clock until 12 o'clock. And as usual, we allow for your calls at 11:15. So there are 45 minutes for your interaction, your concerns, your observations, whatever it is you have to share with the panel of candidates that represent the People's Action Movement on this program, which they have sponsored. My name is Laverne Keynes, and I shall be hosting this morning's edition of The Movement. Of course, we have been featuring the candidates of the party who are presenting themselves to the people for election. General elections are due in St. Kitts on or before August 8th. We are yet to know when is the exact date, but in preparation for that, the party has organized all of its candidates to present themselves to the people on this forum called The Movement. Today, in series number 7, we have candidates that are representing number 6 and number 7. So that is Troy Flanders and Lincoln David Pell. We would also shortly be joined by the political leader, Sean Richards, who is running a little late, but he would be here very shortly, I promise. So I want to welcome both Troy and David to the table, to the movement. And in fact, you have started the movement already because campaigning has already started, canvassing has already started. And so you have been out there putting yourselves and making your case to the people. So I'm going to start with number 6, since 6 comes before 7. And I'm going to ask Troy, how has it been since you have been announced as a candidate for number 6? What has it been like as you go through the Constituency 7, talking to the people and trying to get their votes?
Good morning. Good morning, Ms. Keynes. I'd like to say good morning to all out there in Radioland. As Ms. Keynes said, I'm Troy Flanders, the PAM candidate for constituency number 6. I think the launch was about June 17th, yeah. And so far it's been good. Having a good time out there, meeting with the people and hearing their concerns. And actually, they are so receptive to me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm a bit, I wouldn't use the word.
You're overjoyed?
Overjoyed, mm-hmm. Yeah. The reception is good. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, I'm prepared to represent them. Mm-hmm. I'm prepared.
But with the understanding that you are coming up against a veteran incumbent, does that make you feel any less prepared for the task?
You know, as you said that, I am feeling no extra pressure, you know.
No extra pressure.
No extra pressure, mm-hmm. Because the truth be told, 90% of the people in constituency, number 6, are telling me that their parliamentary representative has failed them. So after being there for 33 years, they actually are saying that it's time for fresh blood, new people. So, and I'm prepared to mount a strong campaign. Mm-hmm. I'm prepared. Mm-hmm. So I don't mind putting in the hard work.
There you go.
Yes.
That's what it's all about.
Yes.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Politics is never easy.
Yeah.
Neither is it for the faint of heart, mind you. So yeah. you can't get weary now. It's too early to get weary.
Yeah. And I would just like to say thanks to my family because they are right there with me, you know. And the PAM number 6 team.
You're feeling the support.
Yes, I like to tell them thanks.
Okay, great. Now, what about 7? Now, they say 7 is heaven's favorite number. In fact, today is the 7th edition of the movement as well. So turning to David Pell, the candidate for constituency number 7, and likewise, you are coming up against the incumbent who has had many years of political experience under his belt. I know you have been on the platform, and because your name is David, you are using that analogy of David and Goliath and thinking that you will be the David for the Goliath. How has it been since you've started? What are the people of constituency number 7 saying? How are they warming up to the idea that you could possibly be a representative for the People's Action Movement in the next government?
Good morning, Lavion, and all the persons who are listening. I greet you all with the peace of Jesus Christ. With that said, I'm a peaceful person. I have the support of my family and friends, and also of my constituents. So, as you mentioned, that scenarios, David and Goliath, I know I have 2 worthy opponents coming up against, and I'm comforted that I will be victorious based on the conversations I have with many of my constituents.
What are they saying, really? What is the temperature like in constituency number 7?
First, they feel neglected for 27 years, be it in the Labour Party, or be it now as, if you could put it, PLP, they have felt neglected. And certain things that have been said that will be done, yes, some person will say it's not too late, but certain things saying around an election time, it can be seen as just, should I believe you? And I'm coming by seeing the neglect. And I'm hearing from persons, we feel neglected. We feel as if someone is overlooking us. And to a certain extent, maybe even looking down upon us. And they don't really care much for us. Because when you have to look at certain things in the community, throughout the constituency I drove, I would have spoken with persons, especially in the sporting areas of things. Our sporting grounds are neglected. And promises that were made, especially if I could recall in Tabernacle, which is the home of the candidate, as some person might say, is a seasoned person and well learned in politics and might be the Goliath of that constituency. Yes, we have 2 other persons coming up against him. But as you mentioned, I am the David who will take the Goliath. I believe that I'm comfortable because I'm comforted by the Holy Spirit. I'm being guided by persons from my constituents who say, continue saying what you're saying, continue coming out, just come and look, come and talk to us. I want all of us to know we are living in a democracy. And some of the things I'm hearing is like sad. And for that reason, I have received prayer from a number of persons.
Okay.
And yes, a lot of persons are saying, yes, I feel the victory coming. And some are saying, you're going to take a lot of votes. But you know what? The majority of the persons are saying, it is time for change in constituency number 7. And they are willing to give Lincoln David Pell, the PAM candidate, that chance to represent the great constituency of number 7. We are from the East.
Okay. Let's put some shape now to this, because what does change look like? What specifically are they pointing to as areas of neglect in the constituency? The good thing is that you are a resident in the constituency. So you yourself, perhaps before you even agreed to thrust into politics, you as a resident of the constituency probably saw particular needs that you thought were ought to have been fixed. So from that point of view, let's not talk around the subject matter. I mean, this is politics. You're trying to win hearts and minds and souls, and this is another platform using which you can do that. So share with the listeners What are some of these changes? What are some of these neglectful things that you want to bring to the fore?
One, I'm a sports person. Since in primary school, I've been in athletics, cricket, football, volleyball, you name it. Whether it's tennis, that's the ping pong as we call it, or lawn tennis, I would just say, and into martial arts. I love sports. And one of the areas that is heavily neglected is the sporting facilities, the playing fields, if you choose to use those words. When it comes to like so bathroom facilities, throughout the constituency, and I'm talking about 27 years. And there are persons who would have been on the team of the present representative, but no interest. Let's say, for example, I visited Tabernacle, and the playing field I made to understand was promised so many years to be done. I saw 2 structures, and I was told they're supposed to be maybe restroom facility and changing room, but they're not completed. And that was something that was made a promise for, if not the last election, the one before that. But it still haven't been done. So I am saying, if I make a commitment to my constituents to do something, I will do it. And this is the change. I want to bring that change because I'm a sport person. I have relatives and friends, but most importantly, when I am from an area, I like to see my area win. And therefore, even for St. Kitts, it doesn't matter who they're coming up against. Let's say volleyball or basketball, which is a United States, as they will say, thing. If St. Kitts and Nevis is going up against the United States in basketball, I am supporting St. Kitts and Nevis because you know what? God comes to you for, as some people say, the underdog. And in this case, I know from the support of the person because I have doing my survey, my personal survey, and listening from the voice of the people. They want change. As their representative, they are willing to give me that change to make change in our community in sports. 1, the facilities. 2, if you look around, not only just in the constituency, but in the nation in general, sport is like at the downward end of things. I'm a sport person. I love sports. Every time I hear somebody from St. Kitts and Nevis traveling anywhere to represent St. Kitts and Nevis in sports, I always want the best for them. I've already contacted sports persons to tell them, when I reach into Parliament, even if I'm not the Minister of Sports, I will touch base with them because I want our sports persons not only to make the national team, but just like how there's an American dream, there's a St. Kitts Nevis dream, to be paid for their sporting careers, not just to play it for playing sake, but to make a career out of sports. And I want to be that person to guide our sports persons to make sport a professional thing for St. Kitts and Nevis and to make a living from it for themselves and their family. It may not be in St. Kitts and Nevis, but at least to create the avenue for such development. The other one I just spoke about, farming. We cannot do without food. My good friend here is a farmer. I grew up around farmers. I try my little thing to do a farmer, but you know, there are certain things you're good at than some. But God bless me, sometimes when I touch, it goes. And therefore, I would have really spoken to the farmers throughout my constituency. When I say throughout, I really mean throughout my constituency. I mean big farmers and small farmers. Even I'm not the representative of now, I'm just a candidate. I would have given them some ideas. Ideas that they realize, look, hey, we were not thinking about this. And also let them know you can be a successful farmer just like how you have farmers in the United States and those big countries that all they do is farming and make a living for it and export. That's what I told them. I tell them, look, we have to look at this from a different way. Look at it from a business point of view. And if they do that, we can also reduce wastage of food and get the most out of what they would have produced. I gave them the idea. I tell them, I'm not a farmer, so that idea means nothing to me. I keep spreading it. Even long before I get into the politics, I used to tell persons about it. So those 2 areas. The other area, you know, I used to be a police officer. So I always throughout my time like to help the law enforcement. And some persons might look at law enforcement in just a minute way, but law enforcement covers the police, immigration, customs, inland revenue. These are law enforcement. The prisons are the correctional and the defense forces for defense. I would have had experience even in the defense force because I had a lot of training in those. So therefore, I know what it is that the police should be doing.
So what about security specific to your constituency?
Security for my constituency, well, I have a plan. Well, you know, sometimes they say you can give out all your plan, but there's a right time for the right time.
So you're not prepared to share the security plan now?
Not as yet, because if we listen around,
Yeah,
we
but
hear something.
the good thing is that this program has a wide listenership, and people, and everything has a timestamp. So if you share your plan today, and somebody shares it tomorrow, you're first up the gate with it.
Okay, my plan is then, okay, since you put it over to my friend, thank you very much for enlightening me in that area. My plan is to ensure that the police is being seen and felt, and they get the necessary support. And I will encourage our great leader, Sean K. Richards, as for the next Prime Minister, and at least if you look at the Constitution and the laws, he should actually be the present Prime Minister right now, is to liaise with the cabinet, or with my leader. Look, we get effectiveness when the police are seen to be independent and free of too much involvement of government. There come a times because they get their payment from the government system, but they should have that independence to enforce the laws as the Constitution and as the Police Act said they should. And let the Commissioner of Police realize that the Office of Commissioner of Police is a very, very important office. And just being a police officer itself is a very important office. As a matter of fact, just being a police officer is a very powerful person. That police officer, when he's walking in my constituency, and I want the police to know, they are responsible for every life, every business.
Is there a police station in Tabernacle?
Yes, ma'am. There is a police station in Tabernacle. And also, that's where the new crime lab and everything is situated. There's a fire station there as well. And also, there's the hospitals and clinics. But because I'm talking about security, I would like, let me put it this way to let you see how important it is to me. When I moved from the SSU and from training school as a instructor, one of the stations I worked in was in Keon. And the lodge was part of Keon district. And person used to say, David, you work last night? I said, why you say that? He said, I know when you work. I said, how do you know when I work? He said, every time you work, nothing happened. Because of a method and philosophy I used to use. And it's not because I just came up with it.
Okay.
I love my Bible, and therefore, I got my instructions from there. And just like David when he was taking care of his sheep, and that is why I'm saying, we all know the story, so I don't have to go too deep in it. And that is why I'm saying... So
security is key for you.
But of course...
For your constituency.
Yes, my audience, yes.
Okay.
Because I believe in peace. I do not believe in violence. However, I believe when the time comes and you have to defend yourself, you have to do so. You have a God-given right, and you have a constitutional right to do so. But God also tells you to be peaceful with all man. Even our constitution says we should do everything with peace.
Right.
Therefore, I'd like to take this opportunity to ask everyone in St. Kitts and Nevis, let us conduct ourselves in a peaceful way. Because you know what? You might have vexation with someone and even want to do violence. But in the long run, when the cloud is settled, it might be a relative of yours. Because you know how our community go. You never find out you're related to someone until something sometimes sad happens. So therefore, let us conduct ourselves peacefully. This nation belongs to all of us.
Right.
And I believe, to a certain extent, all of us want the best for it, but there are some persons who can do it better. And I'm saying the People's Action Movement and CCM, the one movement, have the best ideas and will do a better job. And I am prepared. From what I've seen and my preparation through my career, from the help and the advice I've gotten from persons who I don't even know, from my growing up, to know that I want the best for my country. And I'm prepared to get it done. And my slogan before I turn over to my good friend here, Chai, is let's get it done with Lincoln.
Okay, on that note, we're going to pause now and for a little station break, and then we'll come back and discuss some more. You're listening to The Movement on Win FM. This morning, we are joined by the candidates for constituencies number 6 and 7, Troy Flanders and Lincoln David Pell, respectively. We'll be right back after the station break.
The People's Action Movement campaign train will be moving into East Bastille this Wednesday, 13th July at George Street, Newtown for another massive meeting. meeting. Come join Pam's candidate for East Bastille, lawyer Natasha Shanny Great Rose, political leader Sean Richards, and the winning Pam candidates as they share their vision for the future of St. Kitts and Nevis. This Wednesday, 13th July, grab a friend and let's head to Pam Public Meeting in George Street, Newtown from 8 p.m. Remember, Pam and CCM represent the best hope for St. Kitts and Nevis.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the participant or caller and do not reflect the views of WinFM 98.9. WinFM reserves the right to disconnect any caller who infringes the law or offends the right of any person. The station will also refuse to take any call from any person who, in WinFM's considered opinion, is likely to expose the station to liability for statements made on the air.
You can convince me talking negative about my party, 'cause I'm damn strong. We're damn strong. Go away with your trickery, your money and your bribery, 'cause I'm damn strong. We're damn strong. Ungratefulness is worse than witchcraft. Come election day and see who get the last laugh. When the party's stalwart, show you the real palm from we heart. Voting PAM, voting PAM. Let's for the country's then and now. Voting PAM, voting PAM. No way you can beat us, no how. Voting PAM, voting PAM. Don't care who joining the gang fight. We voting PAM, we voting PAM. Standing on the side of right. You vex with my leader for trying to honor his promise, 'cause I'm damn strong. We're damn strong. It was foolish to take his kindness for weakness, 'cause I'm damn strong. We're damn strong. But our leader has proven his integrity, demonstrating his leadership quality. You try to disgrace him, telling us to replace him. No way. Voting PAM, voting PAM. Let's for the country's then and now. Voting PAM, voting PAM. No way you can beat us, no how. Voting PAM, voting PAM. Don't care.
Welcome back. Welcome back. You are listening to The Movement on WinFM. This is a program that is brought to you every Tuesday from 10 to 12 o'clock, bringing you the issues and the policies and the programs and the new visions that are being shared by the People's Action Movement as they prepare for for general elections, which are due on or before August 8th. So we're speaking this morning with two candidates, two brand new candidates in Troy Flanders from constituency number 6 and Lincoln David Pell from constituency number 7. Seemingly two of the toughest constituencies where the People's Action Movement is concerned. In fact, I think one of the two seats that Pam probably has never won is constituency number 6 and 3.
Yeah.
So obviously, those candidates are in tough areas, but I could imagine they're going to give it their best shot. Now, Mr. Flanders, as the constituency, as the candidate and the representative for Pam in constituency number 6, you have a little tagline that says, "From farm to table, Troy is able." Now, explain to us what this tagline is saying, because I guess, well, I want to assume that being from that stretch from Newton Ground to Sadler's. Is it Sadler's?
Harris's.
To Harris's. There are prime farmlands over there.
Yeah.
And so perhaps you have a plan where that is concerned in terms of being able to feed the nation. So share some of those plans with us.
Yeah, this case, I actually feel that from the farm to the table, I'm speaking mostly for the farmers because I know our farmers, they can deliver. If they are given the right resources and a fair chance, we will step up to the plate, you know. When I look at, for instance, the water situation, if you go over to Kitishan Hill, you realize that every pool up there is filled with water.
Swimming pool.
And the farmers around is suffering from water. So the willpower that get the water up there for the swimming pool is the same willpower we need to get the water up there for the farmers. It's all about political will, you know. These are things that can happen. It's all about political will. And I know in that area especially, I think that area there should have been the food basket of St. Kitts Nevis.
Which area are you referring to specifically?
I'm talking about that stretch of land where Kitishan Hill is. That area from Newton Ground, come right back to Deep Bay. And you come over a little to Parsons. Yeah. If you drive and you look up that area there, you see mostly grass. Yeah, but I want in between the next 5 years, the change that I'm trying to bring to this, in the next 5 years, when you look up there, you might see orchard.
Okay.
You know?
I like the sound of that.
I ain't see no reason why we can't have large acreage of avocados. I ain't see no reason why.
Right.
Why we can't have papaya in large acreage? You know, pineapples, we could do it. But all it takes is the political will. And I know, being a part of this movement, I know that the national leader, the next Prime Minister, the Honorable Sean Richards, he shows his commitment when he come and visit my farm on short notice. I was kind of shocked to see him there. And that's proof that he is serious about, when he talk about farming, he's serious. Yeah.
But the party has also shared some of their plans for agriculture. I can't specifically recall in detail everything that was said, but one of the ideas I have heard espoused in recent times by the leader, I think when he was here last week, Tuesday, was this whole idea of reassigning some of the folks in parks and beaches to manage a farm, and then they share in the profits, and you know, some of the profits go back into expanding and investing in the farm, and as well as allowing a share of some of the profits between the people who participate, which is not a bad idea, because it would probably give them more than a minimum wage.
Yes.
So how right now, in spite of the challenges with water and perhaps monkeys, I don't know, you didn't say monkeys, if monkeys are a problem.
Yeah, monkeys.
But in spite of those challenges, is farming right now a profitable venture? Can people live comfortably from farming, from your perspective, from where you sit? You yourself being a farmer.
Yeah. You mean as the thing is set out right now?
Yeah, right now as it is.
You could live from it, but not comfortably. Yeah, because, for instance, we have a serious problem with marketing, right? You may have the produce, but you cannot get it into the local market because of the fact that we are not consistent enough. So you cannot falter the supermarkets who's going to say, well, I could jump on a phone and call overseas, and within 2 days, a trailer going to pull up with what I want. So when we put ourselves in that position so that we could be consistent, then we could flood the supermarkets, and then we will see the due benefits
returns,
from doing it. But it is something that could be very, very profitable. As a matter of fact, agriculture could create a whole ton of jobs, a lot of jobs. If we get this thing right, you could find jobs in marketing, you could have jobs in packing, you could have jobs in actually in the fields. Yeah, you got jobs in research, and it's a whole lot of jobs you could create because after we have all these large acreage of things, you could think about shipping out, and that will be jobs also. So
you're saying that the industry needs to be better organized.
better organized, yes.
And that your party is giving the commitment to ensure that all of these things that you just spoke about, researching and marketing and promotion and all of that, that if those things are professionalized, then the folks, the farmers who are really doing the real hard work could better benefit.
Yeah, because I want the farmer to concentrate on farming. Right? The researchers, they will do their job. They will say, well, farmer, this is the best thing to plant at this time. You just concentrate on farming. When your produce come, you know that the marketing department will take care of that. You know, if we have a centralized marketing system, the farmers ain't going to worry about rushing into town with a bag of potato go to Rams. The time he going to left from Saddlers to come to Rams, that's 2 hours gone out there.
Yeah.
When he could be in the field doing something productive. So
Good point.
we just want to, I speak as a farmer right now. Yeah. What I really like to see, that we have the support of the government, the full support. You know, if you study, there's only one policy, agricultural policy, that I could recall that stand the test of time. And that is a policy of duty-free concession on vehicles, right, for farmers. That was placed sometime, maybe 40 years back. That's the only policy I see standing the test of time. And now, looking at it, I feel like it's time to revisit it.
Right.
Because if we get serious with farming, the policy probably speak to a pickup, a four-wheel drive pickup. We revisit it. Some farms might be large, so they might want more than one vehicle. But the policy tell you only could get one vehicle in 5 years.
Okay.
So these are things we just got to look at. And it comes on machineries.
Exactly. I was just going to ask you about the ability for farmers to be more productive because they have the adequate machinery.
Yeah.
And because I think, well, I am assuming that to a large extent, a lot of what is being done in farming now is still very manual. And so if you're going to talk about increased productivity, surely you can't have 10 people on a farm with hoes and machetes and picks, in 2022.
Right.
So you need to look at machinery, plows and all of these things that can, and tractors that can do the heavy lifting, so to speak. And then you would begin to realize an increase in production, in output.
Yes.
So I take your point very seriously, that the policy to which you spoke, which I really can't verify, but I suspect as a farmer you probably know it inside out. It requires more than duty-free concession on a pickup.
Yeah.
So you're talking about tractors and plows and all of the other machinery that would really take the heavy labor, the manual labor out of farming, and in fact help to increase productivity. Am I correct?
Yeah. And one thing that though you might be entitled to duty-free, there's so much red tape. You know, if you can bring in something, I think it should be on the book that something land in St. Kitts, as long as it's agriculture related, automatically should be duty-free. So you don't have to get a people running up and down. But you see it landed, we stamp duty-free, you go, make it easier. Because sometimes, because of the red tape, some people get torn off.
Right.
You might be waiting for 6 months for an answer for the duty-free.
You're right. Some of the government procedures really do need to be looked into. They're really very slow and painful, and it does not help to spur confidence in somebody trying to be enterprising, because it is really painfully slow. And I totally agree with you. You're on the money. You're on the money, Mr. Flanders. But we have to take a break now. And when we come back, I want both of you to wrap your mind around the issue of housing. The political leader, when he was here last week, spoke about a plan to build 1,000 homes in 5 years. That would be 200 homes a year over that period. And I know that everybody seemed to have the common issue, the common problem of housing for their constituencies. It is something that needs to be dealt with. And I'm sure as you're making your rounds in your respective constituencies, you are hearing that very cry. So I want you to wrap your mind around how you're going to address the issue of housing in your constituencies when we come back. We'll take a break and come right back. You're listening to The Movement on Win FM.
The People's Action Movement campaign train will be moving into East Bastille this Wednesday, 13th July at George Street, Newtown for another massive meeting. Come join Ham's candidate for East Bastille, lawyer Natasha Shani Great Rooks, political leader Sean Richards, and the winning PAM candidates as they share their vision for the future of St. Kitts and Nevis. This Wednesday, 13th July, grab a friend and let's head to PAM Public Meeting in George Street, Newtown from 8 p.m. Remember, PAM and CCM represent the best hope for St. Kitts and Nevis.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are solely those of the participant or caller and do not reflect the views of WinFM 98.9. WinFM reserves the right to disconnect any caller who infringes the law or offends the right of any person. The station will also refuse to take any call from any person who, in WinFM's considered opinion, is likely to expose the station to liability for statements made on the air.
You can convince me talking negative about my party, but I'm damn strong. We're damn strong. Go away with your trickery, your money and your bribery, 'cause I'm damn strong. We're damn strong. Ungratefulness is worse than witchcraft. Come election day and see who get the last laugh. When the party stalwart show you the real palm from we heart. We voting PAM, we voting PAM. That's for the country then and now. We voting PAM, we voting PAM. No way you can beat us, no how. We voting PAM, we voting PAM. Don't care who joining the gang fight. We voting PAM, we voting PAM. Standing on the side of right. You vex with my leader for trying to.
Welcome back. Welcome back. You're listening to The Movement on Win FM. We're here this morning speaking with the candidates for constituency number 6, Troy Flanders, and for constituency number 7, Lincoln David Pell. Both are representatives of the People's Action Movement in the upcoming general elections in St. Kitts and Nevis. So we just heard quite a mouthful from Troy, who himself is a farmer, on the whole issue of farming and all of the challenges, whether it is a challenge that is experienced on the farm itself or even the issues with government support of farmers. And I have to say that Troy is on the money, because in 2022, farming really should become a lot more professionalized so that we could see the yields. And I use yields in more sense than one. So that was quite a good exposition of what is required to move and lift our farmers up and make them become more productive and feed our nation, as we are all seeing the challenges that COVID posed in terms of getting goods here and getting the goods on time. And so that was quite a mouthful on that particular subject matter. But before we took the break, I asked each of the candidates to give thought to the whole issue of housing, because every candidate has come here and has spoken about the perennial challenge seemingly about housing in these constituencies. Clearly, people want, that is one, I guess, of the pivotal needs that a human has to be able to own a home. And so I want to start with David Pell and tell me what it is are some of the issues around housing that you're hearing from your constituents as you are, making the round canvassing in constituency number 7.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Lavon. One of my strong point is about economic upliftment in my constituency. However, with the housing, I was the first person to mention about putting agriculture and housing somewhat to mirror each other, because both of them need land, and we have to have the right balance. And when I spoke on a few radio programs, I mentioned about we have limited land space. It might appear as if we have a lot of land because there's no more sugar, but the reality is St. Kitts is 5 miles wide and 18 miles long, and it's not 5 miles wide all over. And therefore, when you have to look at that, we have a small space. So to put housing and agriculture, we have to realize a balance must be made. However, we have a lot of air space. And my thought is, use as much of the air space as possible for housing. Then the farmers have enough space for farming to feed us.
What do you mean by air space?
3, 5 storage building.
Or building vertically?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that was discussed last week.
Right. I was one of the first persons to mention that in a program before with Mr. DuPont. And coupled with that, we have to have water, because as our population grow, we have to increase in certain things. I am one of the persons who believe catchment is very important. However, back to the housing, I would have been throughout my constituency, and one of the problems is housing. Also, not just housing, but affordable housing. And that is why my plan include economic development for my constituency. Because if you have the house and you have little money to pay with all the other things that have to come, you realize we have a problem. And what I want to do, if you look at it now, you will see something. I really want the housing program to be helping the people. Presently, I do not think it's so much helping, because let's say, for example, they say, okay, you're qualified to receive a house, and it's cost, let's say, $50,000. But when you start paying for it, sometimes you end up paying 3 times for the cost of the house if you do not have the cash and just pay it off one time. So I want to really make it be affordable. Really make it affordable. And persons could enjoy themselves in the house, in the comfort of the house. And for example, we are competing for view of the sea sometimes and for breeze. However, we have to make sure we have the construction persons to build them, because we're in a hurricane area. But we also have other islands, I must say islands, right in the Caribbean who have high-rise buildings, and they are strong enough.
So you are a proponent of building vertically?
Yes, ma'am.
So let me ask you, there's been a lot of conversation, a lot of perhaps disappointment that was expressed about the 15 homes that were donated to St. Kitts, that free of cost, and all were built in your constituency. Do you have an opinion on that?
Well, I believe in fairness.
Fairness.
Right. And if something was given to the country of St. Kitts and Nevis, then consultation should come in and find out, at least, all the constituencies, how many persons are in desperate need of a house right now, and at least could afford to pay it out. You know what I mean? Because housing is something that sometimes when I walk around and hear the conditions of some persons, it kind of get to me sometimes.
So you're saying that there are other people who could have benefited?
But of course, because 15 houses, we have how many constituencies?
8.
So you see what I'm talking about. Even if you include Nevis, because it's the country, because at the end of the day, the federal government is still responsible for develop the entire country.
Yeah. So then they're 11 then. So 1 per constituency perhaps.
1 per constituency, and even if you want to say, okay, one constituency that need more housing, you give 1 or 2, because let's say, for example, in my constituency, we might be small in certain areas and we have a lot of housing, But there's young persons who are coming up who need housing. So, you could weigh out it and say, okay, there's some constituency homelessness, if you want to say houseless, is not as high as another area.
Right.
So you could use it that way. And you could have,
So that could have been a measure.
Yeah, that could have been a ratio you could use
Right.
to get it sorted out, to distribute evenly and equally, at least to try to. Yes, it's my constituency. I don't want to.
I was just about to say, I'm
But
happy that I'm happy. Right.
I'm a fair person, and that is why I use it that way, because when something is given to the country of St. Kitts and Nevis, especially in large numbers, as much as possible shared equally, let it be done. And that is where consultation with the other persons comes in to find out what is really necessary.
So notwithstanding that all were built in the constituency that you're now fighting for, you're seeing it along the lines of fairness. No, it was not a fair act.
It was not a fair act, no.
Thank you.
Because we had how many other persons who really needed a house.
Thank you. I think you'll get high marks for that.
Thank you very much.
No, Troy, what about, let's welcome the political leader, Sean Richards. He did apologize, and I did apologize earlier for him. He said he was going to drop in a little later. But we want to go back to Troy. So you could share with us, what are your constituents saying about that housing problem? Because it is a need across constituencies.
Yeah, Ms. Kins, I get it every day. I go and people will say, I want to move out from by my mother, And I'm glad the political leader is here, I'm going to be lenient on him because I will be asking for no less than 100 houses in my constituency in the first 5 years. Since it is more than my constituency alone, I'm going to be lenient on him.
But Mr. Flanders, somebody may say, why do you want that much when the Prime Minister was the former Prime Minister was a representative of that same constituency? What happened there?
Well, if I can interject here, and let me take the opportunity to say good morning to all of the listeners and viewers. It is my pleasure to be back here this week, in particular in the company of our two newest candidates, Mr. Lincoln David Pell in constituency number 7, Mr. Troy Flanders in constituency number 6. I have been indicating on the political platform that the intention is to build 1,000 homes within the first term. It therefore stands to reason that we have 8 constituencies here in St. Kitts, and constituency number 6 will be getting its fair share of those homes. Therefore, you will get your 100 homes in constituency number 6, Mr. Flanders.
But he still needs to answer, because I guess that is a question that is being asked. The feeling that when the Prime Minister comes from a particular constituency, that constituency probably has the edge in terms of what happens. And so if you're now saying that there is such a great need for housing in number 6, it begs the question, what has been happening all this time? Did you not say that there were 33 years of representation?
Yes. Mr. Skins, go back to 2015. It still go back 7 years. From 2015, you go back 7 years. There wasn't one affordable house built in constituency number 6.
So 7 from 15 is 8. So since 2008.
Yes.
There's been no.
They haven't.
No project in constituency numbers.
There was some built under the Team Unity. That's why I said go back from.
Okay.
Go back from 15.
Yeah.
So the area representative haven't delivered no housing solution in constituency number 6 from 2008. You see? So, anyone in the village in constituency number 6 could hold the 100, There are such great demand. Saddlers could take the 100. St. Paul's could take the 100. I'm just showing you the demand is so great. So we will split it across. But most people say, try. My mother may have benefited, but that is like 10 years ago or 20 years ago. We want our own space now. And we apply, we can't get. So it is a great demand for
Right.
housing.
Okay, I got you.
As David was saying, thinking about building up, I'm also a licensed contractor. You know, so
Man with many who wears many hats.
yes, yeah. So David is correct because that's why I use housing solution, right? Because the land space might not be there for single units.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see a model being thing up Stapleton, something like that could work in many areas.
Okay.
Yeah, the townhouse style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Ms. Keynes, if I might say, even when you look around, there are some even private persons who are doing that. Even when you go to Frigate Bay, you see that small piece of land there, privateness in between where the Chinese built. And we could see the examples of how we could use our land space and have a lot of persons living in a small area, but at the same time we have land for recreation, for farming, and for other development, whether it be for water and whether it be for industrial use, because we have other persons who are, business persons. And one of my plan, like I said, for economic development, we have a lot of young persons, not so young, and even persons who are up in age who are good in IT. Just like how they have every country now is, if you want to use a better word, seeking for their own Silicon Valley. We can have one right here in St. Nevis. And every time my constituents going around, I'm asking for the IT persons. Because I believe we have the talent and the qualified persons here to do just that. For us, we are small. If you don't believe me, look at Israel. Very small, but do great things. St. Kitts and Nevis could be the Israel right over here. God bless nation, because our constitution speaks to how we believe in God. And even in our national anthem. So let us give God the praise for our, and if you don't believe me, look at to come here. If they could benefit and do great things, why can't local person do the same?
Point taken.
And that is what we are God. But if we do not see it, we have a problem. And I'm asking for persons who I don't want persons who really have it, because my economic plan for my constituency, like I tell the people when I come, I just want to know you have an idea. Come to me on my government team. Let me hear about it so I can try to help you. Remember the words. Try. I don't like to make promises. But my thing is, I will try to help you to try to get where you want to go.
Okay.
Because I am the person so involved.
Right. Do it so which the idea should flow.
Right.
Yes.
And to get them to and do. And as my let get
Okay. Okay.
constituency number 7 and let them make the change. Well,
Yeah.
because we have 6 elected persons, and if you want, and you could include 6 persons, and you include the St. Nevis party who are out of thing, and they not have give their support to who is there now. So you see where I'm coming from. So sometimes I have a little difficulty in saying certain things.
Well, so we're moving now. We're moving forward now because the playing field has now been leveled. So we are moving beyond that now, and we are setting a new agenda. This is a new, fresh agenda. So we're going to go through that because we move on.
So I'm just calling to partners, give people's action movement and system, the one movement, the one team, to make our country the real one country it's supposed to be. Vote on that day, because we have a lot of things in store.
Yeah, thank you for that. Let me just bring in the political leader here very quickly now, because we have to allow for calls at 11:15. Now, Mr. Richards, a lot of people, I guess, as the days are going by and there's still no announcement of this election date, are saying therein lies the problem of not having a fixed election date. I want you to tell the listeners and the viewers today whether you, as the hopeful Prime Minister, if you are prepared to make a fixed election date so that we know from now on when the election would be in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Indeed, it is part of the good governance agenda that we have been speaking to. Persons in St. Kitts and Nevis, I do believe, should know when an election is slated for, rather than having to wait for an individual to pull the date out of his or her pocket. That is part, as I said, of the good governance agenda. And it goes beyond having a fixed election date, because what is currently happening is that the government resources are being used to hold on to power up until the very last minute. You see it happening every single day. Government resources being squandered. This cannot be allowed to continue. If you have a fixed election date, we all know when the election is to be held, and so you don't have that last minute squandering of the people's money. And while the money is being squandered in an effort to get votes, you have so many critical issues facing the people of this federation. Just before I came here, I was in the Kayan community where you have a water crisis. I spoke to a resident of Kayan, and the resident of Kayan was explaining to me that ever since he's 24, 25 years of age, and ever since he has been living in Kayan, he has been living with this uncertainty as to the supply of water. Interestingly, as I was there, you had residents of Kayan walking towards a standpipe, filling up water bottles with water, so that when water goes, at least they have some measure of water to be able to assist them to take a shower, to wash their hands, to cook, to wash their dishes. This water crisis in Kayan is critical, and it has to be attended to. And so I gave my commitment to the people of Kayan that it will be addressed. One of the big issues at this particular point in time is that of unemployment. And rather than addressing the need to employ additional persons, you have the resources of government being squandered, giving a temporary handout to persons here and there. We need to create employment for persons, and so when I speak to the 1,000 homes to be built, it is not just about supplying the need for housing in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. It is not just because I've heard the cries of persons within the different communities, such as the young man from Old who lamented to me that all he wants to see is his grandmother, who has been living in a rented house for so many years, being able to get a house of her own. It is also about creating employment opportunities for the masons who are out of work, the laborers who are out of work, the carpenters who are out of work, the plumbers who are out of work, the electricians who are out of work, the tilesmen who are out of work, the landscapers who will get work as a result, the TDCs, the Hosfords, etc., who will benefit from the supply of construction material, not like the $2.4 billion Harris prison project, where you have a friend, a family member who built a plant to supply the blocks, putting the TDC and the Hosfords and their employees out of work because it's about nepotism. It is about friends and family. It is about greed. It is about selfishness. That is not what we are trying to create. We are trying to ensure that this government will be looking after the affairs of all of the people. It is about the digital economy, having an innovation hub so that young, talented people right here in St. Kitts and Nevis can stay here and be part of the development of technology, be part of be innovators. Part of it is, yes, you may export some of them into Silicon Valley, etc. But we must we must be innovators right here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. We can't always be the ones to be the consumers of technology. We must be part of building of making the technology, and that is what we want to do as a government, Lavon. And the good governance agenda is an essential part of that, because if you have a good governance, you have more persons who are interested in investing. More persons interested in investing, it means more jobs for our people. That is why we have spoken about the Dream Fund for young people in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, so that they can access the funds that they need, be 10,000, be 20,000, be 200,000, to start their businesses. They will be able to do so. Last week I visited a farm in Sandy Point. The day after I visited Troy's farm. And the same complaints that Troy had are the same complaints that I heard from these young farmers. They need fencing material. They're suffering from animals entering, the plot that they are farming. Water, an issue for them. They don't have the resources to be able to develop the farm in a manner that they would like. And they have the idea, and they not just have the idea, but you can see they have the drive, they have the passion, because they're there doing it already. So one can't say that they're looking for money to squander the money, because you see that from their own pockets, they have already made that investment and just looking for the resources, the financial resources, etc., to take that dream to the next level. And as they spoke, I was so impressed with the dream that they had as to where they would like to see the farm. They had rabbits there, they have goats there, they have a variety of crops there, but what they lack is resources to take their dream to the next level. 2 young men in particular, they're farming. They lamented to me that quite often they have to use their vehicle to truck water to the farm. How do you nurture the dreams of young persons when they feel like you have an administration in place which isn't giving them an opportunity, which doesn't care? An administration which has prioritized a prison for $2.4 billion over the needs of young people, over the development of young people. Yesterday I visited a lady in my constituency. She said, why a prison for $2.4 billion as opposed to a proper hospital, healthcare facility, as opposed to getting the Bastia High School completed? Why a prison? Is it to put my children in that prison? Why the need for a prison at this particular point in time? If it is that you have a peace initiative and you say that the peace initiative is working on behalf of the people, then what message is it that you're sending to those persons on the peace program? Are you saying to them that this program is only short to medium term and it's going to come to an end? Are you saying to them that I am building a prison so that when it comes to an end, I am able to accommodate those who will be incarcerated in that prison? Is that the message that you're sending? And these are the concerns that you're hearing from persons out there. Good governance, creating employment, looking after the needs of persons who want a proper house to live in. Last night again, I visited a next constituent, and she said, when I walk in my house, I have to be careful as to where I walk, because the floor is rotting. She said, all I want is a house to call my own, because no one should be living in this particular property. I have to walk gingerly in the house. I have to tiptoe. And I'm not tiptoeing because afraid somebody else in the house hear me. I am tiptoeing because the weight might actually cause the wood underneath me to crush. She said, I don't say it to anybody. I'm ashamed to say it to anybody. But this is the life that I'm living. And I need a government that is going to look after my needs, a government that will ensure that I have better housing conditions to live in. And as a man of my word, a man who has the intent of keeping his promise, a man who can be trusted, I said to her that your needs will be taken care of.
Thank you, Mr. Political Leader. That was that was quite a mouthful. Water wars in Keon, the rising unemployment in St. Kitts and Nevis, the demand, the ever-rising demand for housing, the challenges that our farmers are facing. That was quite a mouthful. So now the question, given the plethora of issues, given all of these challenges, are you prepared as the hopeful Prime Minister to deal with all of these challenges, and how are you planning to prioritize some of these challenges?
I am indeed prepared to address the challenges. I am prepared to address them. And there are several different ways in which they can be addressed. As I speak about the digital economy, we must ensure that at the primary level, we start to teach children coding in school, so that as they exit, whether it is secondary school or CFBC, that they already have the skill set that you need. We in PAM, we have a record of achievements. When you look at Port Zante, when you look at the Southeast Peninsula, when you look at the Citizenship by Investment Program, which has become the envy and copied by so many other countries throughout the world, you recognize that PAM is a party of vision. PAM is a party which knows how to achieve things on behalf of the people. The math is simple. The math is simple. If you can fund a prison for $2.4 billion using proceeds from the CBI, there are so many other programs which can be funded if we get our priorities right. The math is simple. It is not difficult for anyone to figure out. That is why I am proud to be PAM. That is why when you speak to persons, they're proud to be PAM, because they recognize that PAM not only has ideas, but PAM has definitely shown that it has the ability to implement these ideas, make the ideas work, and for decades, you see the benefits of the ideas coming from the People's Action Movement. A lot of young persons out there, yes, we complain that they constantly ask for this and they constantly ask for that. But I think what they really need is for someone to give them a real opportunity, to give them a hand up, give them a meaningful job from which they are able to meet their needs on a day-to-day basis. That is why I spoke about the young farmers. They're not out there asking the government to give me $500 a month. They are there trying to create an opportunity for themselves and for their families. All they're looking for is a hand up, and that is why I spoke about the fund. They must be able to access that fund. Some will be given loans, some will be given grants, because we recognize that the more persons you get into business, the greater the chance for success. Some, of course, may not be successful at the end of the day, but until you make that investment, you don't know which is going to be the next TDC, which is going to be the next Hosfords here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Many of the companies that you see, they began small. When you look at the persons who started such things as Facebook, etc., it began with an idea. That's all it took, an idea and someone to support that idea. And they got the support for the idea and they ran with it. And today you see the $1 million companies, the $1 billion companies, all because they were given support in terms of developing their ideas. So can it be done? Yes, it can be done. It has been done in the past by a government of the People's Action Movement, and it will be done again by a government of the People's Action Movement and CCM. All it takes is the will and the prioritization of our people. We have said putting people first. Putting people first, not family first, not nepotism first, not a prison first, but putting people first, the development of our people. And if we continue to focus on the development of our people will not only come on board to help in terms of the development, but our people will bring the ideas. Because we don't have all of the ideas. We don't have all of the ideas. The ideas come from different persons, and we welcome all of the different ideas. Let the ideas contend, and let us give persons a fair opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Political Leader. No, that is a lot of food for thought, combined with all of the plans and the initiatives that the two representatives early on spoke about. That is quite a lot to chew on, and to give our callers an opportunity to call in and engage the candidates here on. So let me share with you the numbers that you can do so after we take this break. The numbers are 718-285-6984 or 305-921-4619 if you are calling from overseas. Of course, we welcome the input of the diaspora audience. If you're calling us locally, the numbers are 466-762 or 662-0989. We welcome your calls. We keep our promise on this side of the table. And so we welcome your calls very shortly. We'll take a break and we'll come right back, and we can take your calls thereafter. This is The Movement on Win FM.
The People's Action Movement campaign train will be moving into East Bastille this Wednesday, 13th July at George Street, Newtown for another massive meeting. Come join Ham's candidate for East Bastille, lawyer Natasha Shani Great Rooks, political leader Sean Richards, and the winning PAM candidates as they share their vision for the future of St. Kitts and Nevis. This Wednesday, 13th July, grab a friend and let's head to PAM Public Meeting in George Street, Newtown from 8 p.m. Remember, PAM and CCM represent the best hope for St. Kitts and Nevis.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are solely those of the participant or caller and do not reflect the views of WinFM 98.9. WinFM reserves the right to disconnect any caller who infringes the law or offends the right of any person. The station will also refuse to take any call from any person who, in WinFM's considered opinion, is likely to expose the station to liability for statements made on the air.
Talking negative about my party, but I'm damn strong. We're damn strong. Go away with your trickery, your money and your bribery, cause I'm damn strong. We're damn strong. Ungratefulness is worse than witchcraft. Come election day and see who get the last laugh. When the party's stalwart, show you the real palm from we have.
Welcome back. You're listening to The Movement on Win FM. This is a program that is brought to you by the People's Action Movement, one of the three parties in the race in the general elections in St. Kitts and Nevis. We have a call now and we say, welcome caller, good morning. This is The Movement.
Yes, Yes, good morning, Miss Case. How are you, and everybody in the panel from Lodge to down
We're doing
to
well, thank you.
number 6 and up to number 5. You know what I don't like with this politics thing now? Let me tell you all, because many to me studying none of you on this election. Are you all coming with some good ideas, right? Too little too late, you know. Because what you are coming with about these houses, let me show how I see it. I didn't went no school but money in your school where all age school. But as you get older, you get a little wisdom and a little sense where you never had coming up. You all used to project houses. I ain't say no. But how I look at it, I figure it out. You see in St. Thomas, another place where you go, you see these high-rising houses all in the state. I think that's my idea. You all should have begun with it. Through in the Basti area, beautify it. Everybody stay on the one old pattern going straight. All on the Bev Road, if they had to come, pay some money, get the people, them know the old boathouse over there and get rid of them, and high-rise the place. The town would have look much better. But try Irish town. So should I Irish town and they look like when I just come down to live. Irish town looks like some old cannery. In cannery, but you back cannery now look better than today. Nobody ever today, Mr. Sean. None of you go and minister just drive today. The whole house will want pull down. Nobody got, well, let me ask you, when you all get into government, you all have authority to do things. I think that's what we voted for now. I start to vote from 89 for this party, and I just get fed up now, you hear? Because you all got coming with some good, but too little too late, because me no one, nobody coming with. You all left the mountain, you know, where the load of, you know, the load of land now. I went on the train there 3 months ago in the mountain. And you know, like how we poor people, as like in the same Jamaica, Trenchtown, everybody comes gone Trenchtown because they want to see what's going on there. And that's what the poor people do, but you all should have high-rise the place. Put a more thing in back up here, this last set of land. You all was in office, Mr. Shaw, you were there with his land was going to know him, not, you know, had no power. So what happened is, when people get office, nobody could sit down. You know, got to be on the bench with them, everybody. You go sit down and give ideas. Don't build this or don't build that stuff. My idea now. For me, looking at it, to the back on my way up there, they should have built like a nice high rise and put up a high house because I'm playing parts in there.
Okay, Bernice, thank you. We get a gist of your comment that you're recommending high rises, and we want to encourage you to continue to listen to the program so that you could hear the ideas of the candidates for the respective constituencies and the government in general. We have another caller. Welcome, caller. This is the movement.
Yes, good. What time it is? Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning to my political leader, Sean. Good morning, and to the others.
Good morning.
Candidates. First of all, let me pull up Bernice. Hello, you go to Connery. As a matter of fact, Connery was never a rundown community, so you just dress that back. As a proud person from Connery, pull that back, Bernice. Thank you very much. And to Bernice, it is never too late, because the reality is, yes, Sean and Pam and Mark and CCM was a part of this unity, which I never agree with because I saw the snake long time. It was a part of unity, but the reality is they were undermined from day one, and it didn't take blind Stevie Wonder to see it. I think my thing is with Sean especially, I find him to be an honorable person because he tried to keep his word. And I think that is where a lot of people want to say, no, oh, you this, you that. But the point is, what I find, he's honorable because he tried to keep his word. After the last election, he could have told Tim go take a long walk on a very short pier. We didn't have to stay with him. But again, Sean, because he wants to be a man of his word, And your word is your bond. That's the word of God. Your word is your bond. Your word is the only thing you have in life that is anything of worth. After money and all that is faded away, your word is your bond. So in that case, that is where Sean went. I wouldn't say he went wrong because, and again, I have to stick to the word of God when it comes to your word. But I want to tell the PAM supporters, don't be fooled anymore. I saw the agenda of Tim long time. His agenda was to go in there and try to pull as much as PAM candidates away from PAM as he can. And I saw it play out. How I saw it play out was everything was Patches done to that. Because remember, to me, Patches was never a PAM. I'm sorry, who don't like it, bunk it. He was never a PAM. He was an opportunist who saw the opportunity and he took advantage of the opportunity. And I watched him everywhere he went. It was Patches he walked with because they were undermining the other candidates them a long time. They couldn't represent their constituency properly because it was only Patches done do that. So to the PAM supporters, come on home. And I said, let's give PAM and CCM a chance to really run this country and really put the change in place that we was fighting for so long. The change that we cry out for, all these things that was put out there, that we wanted change, and up yet we did not get it because we saw the undermining long time. And who don't like it, too bad. But to the true PAM supporters, come on home. Don't let nobody fool you. Because let me tell you something, the PAM supporters. I'm talking to my supporters them today. My PAM party people them. Let me tell you, if I think Tim is conniving, petty, if I see petty yet, I ain't see it. Let him get back in there. And PAM people, I'll see the real, when he peel off his skin, I'll see the real snake. You have a God bless day.
Thank you, ma'am.
Don't be fool people.
Thank you for your call. There are no more callers, but the two callers, I guess, the second caller was basically sharing her words of encouragement, saying that the political leader kept his word. But we have another caller, and we say good morning and welcome to the movement.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Troy, my mountain friend, I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Anyway, question. Constituency allowance. Can you tell us on how that you're supposed to go? I listen out here.
Thank you. We have any more callers? Okay. So the first caller was basically saying that there's an opportunity to modernize the Irish Town area. But if I may be so presumptuous, I think that when Donald Powell was here on the show a few weeks ago, he spoke exactly to that, saying how he had a whole vision, not just for Irish Town, but generally all that area that encompasses Central Bastille in terms of modernizing it with housing and boardwalks and other tourist type activities that would generate economic activities exclusively for the people of constituency number 2. So we want to remind Bernice that those things were already discussed. But thank her so much, as ever, for her input. We have another call, and we say good morning. Welcome to the movement.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is on All Women Calling program this morning. Thank you for calling.
I would just like to give my input as a young voter voting for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
I feel very good that I may be able to take part in the electoral process. The reason I say this is I grew up in a labor family, and I am young, I am wise, and I am observing everything that has been going on. Growing up, all that I heard about is labor and PAM. And I am not even going to state on the past of labor and PAM. I'm going to speak on present, as with the Labour Party, the PLP Party, and PAM. I think PAM is the best choice at this time. And the reason also why I will say that and why I will lend my support to the PAM party is there are new candidates. The Labour Party, I have a problem with Dr. Douglas. And him being there, it will still be the same Labour, and PLP will still be the same Timothy. So I am going to lend my support and vote boldly for my PAM representative, Mr. Freeman. And I do feel confident that the PAM party is bringing issues and they are looking out for the best interest in moving the country forward. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for that. Does anybody want to respond to anything? There's
Yes.
also the question about how the constituency allowance is used.
Yes, let me take the opportunity to respond to a number of the callers. Firstly, Bernice. And I thank Bernice for calling in. When I spoke earlier, I said, I do not have all of the ideas. My candidates, they do not possess all of the ideas. The ideas must come from all of the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis. Our own unique experiences will help to shape our ideas, will help to shape what we bring to the table. Bernice has had her own experiences from living here, from living abroad. She's someone older than I am. And so there are things in life that she has seen which I am yet to see. And so I want to thank her for the ideas that she gave. She has lived in the Irish Town community. She knows some of the things that are needed to bring about a revitalization of that community. She now lives in Buckley's, in a project house there. And so she also has the experience of moving into a different community, into a project house. And it is all of those experiences which have shaped the comments, the suggestions that she has made. I want to thank Bernice. I am actually going to go and look for Bernice in Buckley's where she lives and have a further conversation with her to get more in terms of her thinking and more in terms of her ideas. Because it's a consultative process where the young, the old, the middle age must all contribute their ideas towards our development, because at the end of the day, it is all of us who live in this country, and all of us must be able to enjoy the development, the benefits of St. Kitts and Nevis. She's a lady who goes around selling nuts, and I'm sure she goes around selling her nuts. She meets different persons who also shares ideas with her. And so she has a wealth of knowledge that I think from within we can get some ideas. And as little as some of the ideas may be, we may be able to build on those ideas, and we see something great emerge from those ideas. To the young lady who just called and gave an endorsement, I don't know who she is, but as a young person, I also encourage her to continue to be part of the debate, to continue to listen to the different political parties, to continue to encourage persons or peers to listen to the debate, listen to the ideas, and from those ideas, extract what is good and which political party represents the best hope for the future of this federation. I am certain that the majority of them will conclude that PAM represents their best hope for the future of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. We have spoken to jobs for young people. We have spoken to housing for young people. We have spoken to a better health care for young people. And even in terms of better health care, housing, as I said, jobs will come out of those. We have spoken of a dream fund, in particular for young people to be able to pursue their dreams. To the young lady who called and said that in terms of Connery has been developing, I certainly agree with her, because Connery has been developing. But like many other communities, there is still the need for further development of the Connery community. And as I canvassed that community, I was able to say to persons from Connery that better days are coming. I give you my commitment as the leader of the People's Action Movement that we will look after the people of Connery. I understand we have a call, so I'll pause.
Yes. Good morning and welcome to the movement, caller. Oh, the person has left.
Hopefully they call back.
Yeah. So you could go right ahead.
Yes. Now, the person who called about...
They're back? Good morning and welcome to the movement.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. Morning, Laverne, and morning to your guests.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I won't ask my usual hard question, Laverne.
No, feel free. We like hard questions over here. I don't think they're running for many hard questions.
The usual one. It would be unfair to the candidates for 6 and 7, is it?
Yes.
Who aren't there to cause the mess that we're in now. So I won't ask that. But what I would ask, right, first of all, since the political leader is there, the policy on the new Basti High School, will you, assuming that you got into office, would you pursue the same policy as apparently is now, continue building the Basti High School in that location so close to the well field of the aquifer that supplies so much of the island's water? And similarly, are you committed to keeping the arrangements for the solar farm project again, that close to the aquifer? Now, I listened to some of the candidates earlier who spoke about the high-rise, the housing. I would suggest, okay, that there are other solutions to this housing problem. First, to make sure that there's responsible criteria for awarding houses, okay? Because, give priority to people, families, let's say, who are in need, as opposed to what sounds to be the idea of, you want to move out of the family house and get your own. Sure, that's a worthwhile aspiration, okay? But you have to prioritize, okay? And we could also solve it by looking at a different type of housing solution. Build things like studio apartments or one-bedroom apartments, so that that would encourage younger people, yes, to leave, but they don't need, since they don't have a family, they don't need the 2- and 3-bedroom houses that the public housing seem to be concentrating on. In other words, diversify the product, the houses that are offered, okay, and shape social policy accordingly. Use housing to shape the social policy accordingly, because you don't have to have somebody who just turned 19 moving out of the parents' house, for instance. You could, the NHC can offer a solution where they offer an existing home the capacity to build on, let's say, an apartment or expand to another bedroom or something like that, okay, to make them comfortable, at least for a short while. So there are other solutions to that. And finally, with regards to agriculture, now, we always talk agriculture to death, okay? I'm not so sure it's a smart policy to continue to pursue agriculture as we know it in number 7 and number 6 constituencies, right? We want there to be a level playing field. I'm sure Laverne would agree with this. We don't want there to be disparities between country and town. And unfortunately, agriculture as we now practice it tends to do that, okay? I think that there are other opportunities for 6 and 7, like, for instance, yes, diversify the tourism product by putting something like Kitchen Hill up there. That's a different kind of tourism, right? And also take advantage of the proximity to the northern islands like Statia and St. Martin and Anguilla and St. Barth, okay? You know, if you develop that area so it becomes, let's say, a marina, there's a marina there and a ferry port there, that could work wonders for the area, okay? So I'm wondering if you're not a little bit short-sighted in terms of how you see those areas down there developing. Okay then.
Thank you for your contribution, caller. I'll allow the political leader to. He probably may want to wind up on those other issues that were before this one, and then delve into your concerns that you just tabled. Thank you.
Yes, I was about to address the caller who spoke of the constituency allowance.
And maybe you could tie that up with the Constituency Development Fund that I heard you speak about on the platform.
Thank you for that reminder, Lavon. Indeed, you have been listening.
I have been.
And you are aware of the many plans that we have for the development of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. And you know, I mean, it's a good thing that you mentioned that, because the constituency allowance, of course, is given to the elected members of Parliament. And the constituency allowance is very limited in terms of the amount. I think it is $1,500 per month. I hope I'm correct, but I think it's $1,500 a month that you receive as a constituency allowance. Now, the constituency allowance was implemented before my time, and there are different schools of thoughts as to why the constituency allowance was implemented. Some say it's to assist constituents with different needs. Some say it was a way of basically increasing the salary for members of Parliament without having any deductions coming from that particular part of the salary, because it's an allowance and so you don't pay social security, etc. on the allowance. In any event, you find that as a member of Parliament, you have quite a number of your constituents who call upon you for different needs. And I have had the debate from time to time with persons about the constituency allowance, because there are some persons who say, oh, you receive a constituency allowance, what it is you're using it to do. And I've said in many instances, if one begins to count the $1,500, you would be surprised that quite often you spend more than $1,500 to do different things within the constituency. A basketball team comes to you for sponsorship. It costs far more than that to sponsor a basketball team. And so persons feel that somehow, well, you have this constituency allowance and what are you doing with it, and you're not spending it on persons within the constituency. The fact also is that in many instances you give and you give and you give and you give, but you don't go around and make it public as to who the persons are that you have helped in so many different ways. Somebody comes to you and looking for assistance with surgery, and depending on the nature of it and if you're able to afford it, I mean, you give far more than that. And so I can say, and I think I speak on behalf of most parliamentarians, that in terms of the constituency allowance, in most instances, you spend far more than the $1,500. That is why we have said that when we are back in government, we are going to put a constituency empowerment fund in place. Every single member of Parliament will have access to that constituency empowerment fund. So each member will have a particular amount and an equal amount, whether you're in government or you're in opposition. So if we determine the amount to be 100,000 or 200,000, and you're parliamentarian, but not a member of government, you have the same amount available to you. What do you use it to do? There's some projects within the constituency, a G need fixing here and there. You can use it to do that. If somebody has an issue with a house roof, and it's not the entire house roof, but a small part of the roof that needs to be repaired, you can do that. I spoke about the lady earlier with the issue with the flooring. You can use it to help that particular lady. One of the things that it does, it sort of prevents you from going through the bureaucracy of government. If government doesn't have a particular program in place to deal with this particular issue, you're able to assist persons from the constituency in a bigger way from that particular fund. And so each year, you get that amount available to you to assist constituents. And again, if you look at it, you may be able to hire someone here and there to do little things, because those very same things that I mentioned, you need laborers to do them. And so again, you're creating employment opportunities for persons, you're empowering persons, you're helping persons within the various constituencies. It might be something general, like I said, something that is general to a particular area of the community, like the drain that needs fixing. And so you see how you're able, in a quick manner, to help far more persons within your constituency. It also helps you to keep in touch with your constituents and to know what their needs are, because you have that fund available to be able to help constituents. To Mr. McMahon. And Mr. McMahon is normally one of the biggest critics of the People's Action Movement. And so I want to thank him for taking a different approach today in terms of sharing some ideas as to how we can deal with the housing situation here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And he has given some valuable ideas, some workable ideas. And so we thank him for those. And certainly they will be looked at to see how they can be implemented. Because as I've said, and I repeat it again, whether you support PAM, you support Labour, you support PLP, CCM or NRP, we all have ideas that can be used for the further development of this country. Not because your government isn't in power, you should not share your ideas. Because ultimately it's about the development of all of us. If the country is developing, then all of us develop. And so I thank him for those ideas. He asked specifically about Bastille High School and my thoughts relative to Bastille High School. I would take the opportunity to remind Mr. McMahon that I was the Minister of Education who inherited the crisis with Bastille High School. So I was part of bringing that temporary solution in terms of the classrooms for the students of Bastille High School, and I'm happy to know that Bastille High School is holding its own amongst all of the other high schools here in the Federation, despite still having those temporary facilities for the last 7 years, after being disappointed by a Labour administration over and over again, having those health concerns which were not being addressed in a manner that brought a permanent solution to that issue. And so in terms of Bastille High School, I have been part of it. So in terms of what the recommendations are, in terms of the site, in terms of the environmental impact assessment, etc., all of those were done by reputable persons. And so I personally, I have no reason to question where the Bastille High School is to be sited.
Could you just stick a pin on that one and let us take this call? Good morning and welcome to the movement.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Sean, yes, good morning.
Good
Sean,
morning.
I'm sitting here listening your program the whole morning, you and the other panel. And it's a wonderful program. But, you know, one of the development that I really want to see happen, especially to the town of Bastille, is a boardwalk start from the bus station right down to Fisherman Wharf. On that boardwalk, I'd very like to see some bars and also some little restaurants. Enhance the place. Because these are things that tourists come to look for, that they can just come and sit and enjoy the scenery. But one thing I would like to remind the people of St. Kitts about In 1980, when Dr. Simmons took up this island, he have raised it from the dead and put it on top of the world. Put it on top of the world. 1995, 20 years after the Labour Party Douglas administration have buried St. Kitts, we have given the very same Labour man St. Kitts on a platter, tell him to run St. Kitts in 2015 and see what he did with us. But let me tell St. Kitts people, Ham again is going to take this country and we're going to raise it from the dead and we're going to put it back on the map. So Sean, hold faith. Don't you give up. You will be the next Prime Minister. There will be not a Timothy or not another Labour Party in office. You will be the next Prime Minister along with CCM from Nevis. Mark Bradley. Keep the faith. Just keep the faith. I just want you all to have a lot of vision when you get inside here and work with all the people. I listen to you. Work with all the people. It don't matter who they be. Labour, PAM, unit. Work with all the people. I know you have a good heart. You have a heart similar to Simmons' one. All men are not the same. Because when I sit back and look at what you have done, people curse you. You have given away the government. But you're a man who keep your promise and you don't find these men around today. You have kept your promise. And he have failed not only you, but the nation. Became one of the most wickedest men in St. Kitts. That's why you see Douglas and say, watch the man, but we didn't believe him. We give him a chance. Now his time is up and he got to go. We will form the next government. Remember this, what I said to you. I'm from Constituency 4. And we are bringing home Constituency 4 because Grant have no fear of nobody who they put inside here. Have a blessed day.
Thank you. Thank you for your call, sir. Thank you very much. So, so Sean, there's still the question about the solar farm. Whether that is an arrangement that you would follow through on if you were to become Prime Minister?
In terms of the solar farm was located there for various reasons. One, proximity to the Skelec generation plant, and it was also deemed to be low impact in terms of affecting the aquifer. Well, the aquifer which is located in the same area. And so that is why the green light had been given for that. As a matter of fact, as a part of the solar farm project, the company operating that solar farm is supposed to be making annual contributions to the Ministry of Environment towards maintaining the Bastille Valley. However, I do have other concerns in terms of the solar farm, but that is for a totally different discussion.
And then I think, you kind of hinted on it earlier on, because I think he was suggesting that instead of us thinking that number 6 and 7 are just agriculture bases, we could think about a marina in that area and other developmental opportunities.
I actually was leaving that particular question for Troy to reference.
Right.
But before I turn over to Troy, the last caller who spoke about having the boardwalk from
the ferry
terminal
to
Fisherman's Wharf. Before that boardwalk can be implemented, there is a project in terms of securing from the Fortlands area come around to Irish Town. You have the erosion, especially in the Fortlands area of the cliffside, and so there is a revetment project that is supposed to be addressing that issue. So that would have to be taken care of first and foremost before the boardwalk can be put in place. The boardwalk is a project that indeed we are committed to, but the different steps, the phases must be done accordingly before you reach to the boardwalk.
Okay. Mr. Flanders?
Yes, Mr. Skins, the caller, Mr. McMahon. Yeah, the marina, and say it might sound good, but if it's one thing COVID has taught us, that we have to feed ourselves. And that area, constituency 6 and 7, we have one of the best terms that no rain fed. The rainfall in that area is good. You look at, for instance, constituency 7 up the Phillips's area. That's an area is good for root crops. You see, you plant them other way, when the sun get hot, they're going to die down. So it's okay to talk about the marina and so, but we must feed ourselves. And that area is one of the best areas to.
Now you're thinking that the marina is actually on the seaside of it.
Yeah.
So in terms of allowing for diversification of different projects, I think some of these projects can actually contend with each other.
Yeah, I wasn't
Content
really
and complement
each other, yes. But I was more focusing on the mountainside.
You see, Troy is a farmer to the bone.
Right. He was talking about why concentrate on farming in that area.
Yeah.
So I was just letting him know
Right.
that is why we concentrate on farming in that area.
Right.
And to
Good
pick
point.
up on him, Date Bay is a fishing area. So that is Troy constituency. So at least the marina might be a good place for Date Bay. And he talked about close to Statia and St. Martin. Well, we have a port in Sandy Point that people use. So at least those two areas could be used for that.
Yeah.
But when he spoke about the housing is important. And I see where he came about and patch it up by saying we could build studios. But those things could also still be in high-rise. Because remember, as Troy would have said, COVID taught us a lot. And we should be able to feed ourselves and what we have left over, ship overseas until we could make a business, because farming is a big business. And just like how you have farmers throughout the world, whether it's in the US, Canada, Australia, and Brazil and so forth, we could have farmers here in St. Kitts who make as much as those for their families themselves and for our country, because it's also part of trade. So right then you realize we have another something to trade with.
Yeah.
So, we have to really preserve our lands. And by having lands preservable, not just for farming, I could put it this way. You could farm crops, you could farm animals, but we could farm water as well. Because every time we have rainfall, we have a lot of it just going on to the sea. What about catchment? And this is part of my plan I have for my constituency, catchment. Because when I was small, we used to have some water problems, but the sugar industry had their own catchment sometimes. And KM was one of those areas that seldom used to go out of water. So I do not know what the issue is right now. But we have our water engineers and our political leaders here. Different programs could come in place to farm water, if you want to put it that way. Farm the water.
Okay.
So we could have reservoirs, if you want to put it that way. Catch the water, chop it. We have too many going down the sea to waste.
Right.
And I know my political leader, this is his baby, the prison. But I want to touch on it. Some of that money.
We're in wrapping up phase now, so you could weave your wrap up into this so
Right.
that everybody would get a chance to.
Because my thing is about economic development in all areas and for everyone. The $2.4 billion, if we have economic development and transaction between St. Kitts and Nevis, it will be good. And one way of getting that done, I know sometimes we spoke about a bridge, some person may not like it, but it will increase economic development from St. Kitts, because we have more businesses in St. Kitts. We could have that into Nevis. Every country do strategic things to develop their areas, just like we have New York, Miami. They have their own way to develop the United States. We can be strategic in developing our country. And how to make this country strong and make it one every time, linking these states and sometimes the boroughs by bridges. Why can't we do that for our country, St. Kitts and Nevis, which is Nevis just across the road? You can see clearly from St. Kitts into Nevis. So why can't we build a bridge? And you know what? there will be other persons or other nations who will be willing to help, just like how they help us with many things, get that bridge done. And it could be economical for the country and for everyone who have business. Some persons might question me, what about the boat person? But we have to diversify. Everyone must have a choice to choose in where they want to travel to Nevis and to get their things to Nevis. And so there's room for everybody. The bridge can pay for itself and so forth like that. But all I want to say before I go to my listeners, and that day when the election is called, vote for Lincoln David Pell in Constituency 7. It's about time we have good representation. Yes, it's about time we have the change. 27 years is not 27 days. And I must say, time is up. It is out and it's over for the occupier for 27 years. Yes, I know I have another opponent, but Lincoln David Pell deserves that vote, and he's the right man at this time to help be in the team with the People's Action Movement to bring Constituency 7 up economically, sports-wise, because we have a lot of sports persons from my constituency. Let us make a dream. So I just wanted to thank everybody for listening to me, and may God bless all of you. May God continue to bless St. Kitts and Nevis. Have a blessed one.
Mr. Flanders?
Yes, when I hear tours, I start to have a lot of time.
On the way, the tour was just 2 minutes.
Firstly, I'd like to say thanks for the opportunity, and thank you, Mr. Political Leader, for giving me the opportunity to serve my people. I'm from Newton Ground, St. Paul's, Depbe, Passing Ground, Sadlers, Harris's. I'm saying give yourself a chance. Give yourself a chance. Change will come, and change must come. So I'm asking you to give Troy Flanders that chance to help you bring about the change that you are seeking. Thank you.
Thank you again, Lavon, for having me on this program. You continue to do a fantastic job in terms of hosting this program. You are in tune with the issues, and of course, that comes out when you speak. I mean, you speak so eloquently in terms of the issues affecting us here in St. Kitts and Nevis. You come with ideas, and I am sure it's not only myself who is appreciative, but also the listeners of this program. I also want to say a very special thank you to our candidate for constituency number 6, Troy Flanders, for coming forward to serve the people of that constituency. He has recognized that there is a need for better representation in that constituency. Troy is a farmer. He understands the needs of farmers. He has worked as a contractor. He understands the needs of small business people here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. When I say to the public that we have a team of experienced persons, a diverse team, it is because of persons like Troy you can relate to those persons within that sector and beyond that sector. I am able to utter those words. Lincoln David Pell, our candidate for constituency number 7, a former police officer. He has since retired. He now has his own security company. He's a security consultant. He has worked within and outside of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. He comes with a wealth of experience, a man who believes in God. And so when I say one movement, one people serving one God, of course he can readily relate to that. He has heard the cries of the people of constituency number 7. It can't be about one family. It can't be about a man building a prison for $2.4 billion, his brother involved in selling passports, a next brother involved in clearing the land, a next family friend involved in providing security and saying that he's yet to provide blocks to the project. Lincoln David Pell isn't about looking after his family only. He isn't about nepotism. He is a man who has heard the cries of all of the people of that constituency, from whether they come from the mansion area, whether they come from Tabernacle, whether they come from Molineux, all areas of the constituency. He wants to look after all of the people of constituency number 7 and give all of them a fair opportunity. He will prioritize the needs of the people of that constituency. You have a school over there which was burnt recently, and rather than the school being given the priority in terms of the rebuilding of that school, so that within a matter of days you see the school being reconstructed, what you see instead is a prison being built. And so you wonder if that prison is being built for our young children who should be in a school that was built for purpose, getting their education, rather than the priority being a prison being built over there. In constituency number 8, right next door, we have Chesley Hamilton, a man who has shown by his own commitment and work ethics that he wants to look after people. On Sunday evening, you had a young man who has offended the law, who took to the podium and spoke of how Chesley has helped to give him a second opportunity, a second chance here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. It is something similar he wants to do for the young people and all of the people of constituency number 8. I spoke earlier of the water crisis in Cayan. Chesley is committed to bringing an end to that water crisis. He has lived in Cayan. He is from Cayan. He knows the issues in Cayan. And so, when Cayan people feel the pain of not being able to have water on a daily basis, Chesley can associate with it. And that is why Chesley wants to help to bring it to an end. We move to constituency number 1. The young lawyer, Natasha Shani Gray Brooks. I mean, Natasha has overcome so many different things in life. She has rose from being a teenage mother to being a successful lawyer. Got married recently. And out on the campaign trail, even as she has had a baby, born I think in the month of March, but committed to the people of her constituency. She cares about the elderly, she cares about young people, she cares about middle-aged persons, and that is why she has had so many programs catering to different sectors of that particular constituency. And so I highly recommend Natasha Shani Gray Brooks to constituency number 1, East Bastille. And next young man in Central Bastille in the person of Jonel Powell. And Jonel, within less than 2 years, has already demonstrated that he has the capacity to move the people of Central Bastille forward and upward. Newtown Primary School, work done there. Newtown Sporting Facility, work done there. Houses for the people of Central Bastille, he has ensured that they receive houses. And as you move throughout Central Bastille, you see the footprint of Jonel Powell in less than 2 years. And so he said to the people of Central Bastille, if within less than 2 years, Jonel has been able to accomplish so much, imagine if you gave Jonel 5 years to do much more for you, the people of Central Bastille. Return Jonel Powell as your representative in Central Bastille for the projects to continue, for development to continue in Central Bastille. The only person from West Bastille contesting the election in West Bastille, Corvin Milo Box Freeman, a true man from the village. He understands the needs of the people in the village. He has been speaking about some of those needs, health care, and the lack of proper health care at JNF, and the fact that the current representative is also the Minister of Health, but health care has been dying under that representative. He has spoken about the development of the sporting facilities. Imagine, you have football teams coming from the village, which have done well in the Premier Division, and no proper sporting facility in West Bastille for the football team from West Bastille. He has given a commitment to ensuring that the people of West Bastille get better representation. in constituency number 4, there's no contest. Lindsey Grant, named the best Minister of Tourism within the entire Caribbean region. Lindsey was put his hands in his pocket in terms of the breakfast program, in terms of his homework assistance and reading program. He has demonstrated that he cares for all of the people of that constituency. The Old Road Bay redevelopment, Arne Lindsay as the representative for that constituency. The lighting of the playfield in Vorchals, Arne Lindsay as the representative for that constituency. The Old Road Fisheries Project, Arne Lindsay as the representative for that constituency. The rebuilding and development of the sporting facilities down in Herefordshire, Arne Lindsay as the representative for that constituency. Houses for the people in Conyers and elsewhere throughout the constituency, new roads in the constituency, all under the leadership of Lindsay Fitzpatrick Grant in constituency number 4, and that is why they continue to say in that constituency, Grant for sure in number 4. And of course, down in Sandy Point, you have myself, a man of his word, leadership that you can trust, leadership that you can trust, leadership that you can trust. And so in Sandy Point, I mean, several different areas of development. If you want to speak about the schools, if you want to speak about roads in your police station, the sporting facilities, houses for persons, job for persons, land for persons, whatever it is, I have delivered on behalf of the people of Sandy Point, and I will continue to deliver on behalf of all of the people of Sandy Point. And in Sandy Point, they can tell you whether it is your vote, PAM, Labour, PLP. Sean helps all of the people in Sandy Point, and I will continue to do that for the people of Sandy Point. I thank them for the support that they have given in the past, and I thank them for the support that they will continue to give as we all strive to develop Sandy Point and to make it a better community for all of us. Lavon, again, thanks for having us here today. Thanks to WinFM for hosting us. Thanks to all of the listeners for tuning in. And thanks to those who called in to give their different ideas, etc. We appreciate all of you. We love all of you. On election day, vote for the People's Action Movement, the team which has presented the best slate of candidates and ideas for the development of St. Kitts and Nevis. And if you're in Nevis, of course, we encourage you to support the Honorable Mark Brantley and his team from the Concerned Citizens Movement.
Thank you, Mr. Political Leader. That's a wrap for today. We'll see you again next Tuesday on another edition of The Movement. Until then, we encourage you to stay safe and stay well. We'll see you again next Tuesday.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are solely those of the participant or caller and do not reflect the views of WinFM 98.9. WinFM reserves the right to disconnect any caller who infringes the law or offends the right of any person. The station will also refuse to take any call from any person who, in WinFM's considered opinion, is likely to expose the station to liability for statements made on the air.
You found the sound. 98.9. Win FM.